Okay, so Dr. J, he is the Chief Scientific Officer and an expert in all things DMK. He maintains a deep understanding of skincare through biotechnology. This is really good. He looks beyond the surface of the skin and looks into the skin. So he is going to educate us on a little bit more of scientific technique and scientific theory. So he is going to bring that to us today. I'm going to introduce Dr. J right now and let him take it away. This is a great topic too. Menopausal skin. Oh my gosh, who's there?
Thank you, Danne. Hi all. I hope you have a little more stamina before the food goes in. Yeah, because I'm sure this is the boring session. I will try, but still make it more user-friendly, I would say. So science, I sometimes wonder that what is the science and why I'm involved in that particular concept called science. If you think sometime that what's the difference in between the information and the knowledge? What's the difference? When do you say that you have the information, and when do you say I have the knowledge for it?
Understanding.
Yeah. Understanding of
applying it.
Why. So the connection in between information and the knowledge is science, and vice versa. So you can convert the information with science as a framework in the knowledge, and you can convert knowledge with the science or through the science in the information. So why I'm touching upon this very fundamental understanding, because we are so much dwelled in the information continuously. The information is coming to us with every angle. We don't know what to do with it. Literally, if you think that how much information you suck in every day, and how much you retain, how much you process, and how much you implement, actually. And that's scary, because according to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that my fear is that the cyberspace will be bigger than the real space. Like if she and me are like 4 or 5 feet apart, but we might be trillion bytes apart. Think about it. Now, why it is connected so inherently with the skincare, as we are a part of that entire industry, is if I put together all the research done, all the information gathered, all the knowledge derived so far in respect to the skin, we hardly know 0.01% of the skin. We really don't know what the skin is still today. 99% is the unknown. The problem is that 99% unknown controls what we know, the 0.01%. So the good news is that there is so much possibility around. There is so much to do here. And we are absolutely in a fantastic position at this point of time, because you consider the technologies we are surrounded with. It's like a godlike technology. Really, the entire human kingdom have not even imagined that we would have this kind of technologies. So, so let me confess here, this term is wrong. Menopause. No, it should be woman or pause. Why is it related with the main?
Put the man on pause.
Yeah, main or pause. Okay, in standard setting. Anyway, but main also goes through this phase, and it's called andropause. Okay? So the suffering is shared. So no one is privileged there. Okay?
Now, if Dr. J, if you say we share pain and labor, I'm taking that away from you. I'm sorry.
Look, I mean, my conception so far was that the men are born to suffer.
Yes.
Here you go. I'm right.
Do not tell Doug that.
Right? So, this is pretty interesting. Trust me, till last December 2024, I didn't realize that this particular condition or this particular physiological transition, how it affects the skin and why it is important. Till I came up with, this is a boring thing. 1.2 billion women by 2030 will be transitioning through this. This is massive. I tell you why. Now, I'm bad in numbers, that's why I became a doctor. Doctors are terrible in numbers. But if you imagine that, if you consider the perimenopause, menopause and postmenopause, these three phases, on an average, is a 1.5 year to 2 years phase. Sometimes it goes extend more than 2 years, maybe 1 year if one is lucky. But in that span, if a client is spending, say $1,000 for example on different product, different services, different treatment, etc., you can calculate 1.2 billion into 1,000. It's bloody $1 trillion market. And that caught my attention. Though I'm bad in numbers. But I can't ignore this fact. And on the top of that, 47 million around are new entries each year. Okay? The key problem or the key challenge in the menopause is like, it comes like this. It comes unnoticed. There is no pre-order sign. On one fine night you sleep, on one fine morning you wake up, man, what is happening? My skin, look in the mirror. I was so good yesterday, what is happening today? Why this wrinkle, why this crowbabes and all that stuff? It hits. And when it hits hard. So the only solution to it is prepare for it, right? Because this condition is inevitable. This is a physiological thing that the nature has given, so you cannot really do more about it. But suffering is not. That's in your hand. We can, and that's where all of you comes in the play, that how you can make the suffering almost zero. Is that possible? Yes, it is possible. But for that, you got to have a solid domain knowledge, not information, so that you can implement well and you can practice that for your client, and voila, both are enjoying. Okay. Trust me, this particular phase, menopause, postmenopause, is a very enjoyable phase. Why? Because most of the wisdom comes in this phase. So this is one step above the knowledge. You know, when you churn the knowledge more and more, then the wisdom comes, and this is that time. And then you really retrospect or introspect or whatever, you find the new opportunities. So it's the support what you need to give to your client is more than just the skincare. Okay. So my another fundamental question to all of you is, and I'm still pondering, I don't have a definite answer so far. Does consciousness control the matter or matter control the consciousness? What do you think? Mind over matter or matter over the mind? Difficult, right? Because they are so like coherent. They are so amalgamated with each other, we don't know. But why I'm asking this because in this phase, you literally see that consciousness controls the matter. You realize this, you experience it. And that's where the wisdom comes. When you realize that, okay, consciousness controls the matter, that means you expand your boundaries of the sensory organs or the sensory perception, and then, bang, that clairvoyance comes. Anyway, so how can we empower each other? Now, this is, I'm sure, I'm definite about it, that taking care of the menopausal skin is a community effort rather than an individual effort. How many agree? It should be a community effort. We should support each other. Because a lot of things going on. For example, boom, menopausal symptoms. Now, you see all the symptoms here. Oh, this is a typo. Oh man, I must be doing the intermittent fasting this time. Sorry about that. I hate typos, but it's a psychosomatic. So you see all the signs and symptoms here are psychosomatic, means it is the consciousness with the matter. Mind and the matter both in one go. Now you will ask me, the belly fat is psychosomatic? It is. It is. Now there is a data coming that by 2080, year 2080, we will be all around, right? We'll be all around by 2080? Come on, yes. By that time, it is predicted by the large language models and the data science that the only one category of the diseases will not be having a cure, and that is neurocognitive disorders or psychosomatic disorders. There is a great exhibition in, kind of a model, huge tall skyscraper building in Dubai. Okay, and they have simulated at each floor of the space travel. Okay, so you enter in the first kind of story, you get that zero gravity situation, then microgravity, then you literally go on the top floor, you're in the space environment. And then at the last is a very interesting thing, that is a chamber where there is just a chair, nothing else. You have to put off all the cell phone screen, nothing, and just sit for 10 minutes and experience your own consciousness. They said that after space travel, this would be the most important thing. Can you believe that? Means that what we are seeking for every day. What are we seeking for? Is the external or inside? The skin as a sensory organ is a beautiful organ in terms of given 5 sensory organ is skin divides or unites internal universe with the external universe. Imagine all of us sitting without the skin here. So that defines the individuality as well as it connects the individuality with the community and then with the universe and then the meta-universe. So we are in a beautiful profession, I tell you. The most rewarding thing you can offer to your client is to give that feeling of that bigger understanding of what the skin is and how precious that organ you are handling for your client. Now, all of the symptoms and the signs will come in one go? No. Maybe one can start 2, 3, 4, maybe gradually progressing to the other, or maybe some of the signs and symptoms will get reversed and then go further. So these are all in a dynamic mode. These are all signs and symptoms are dynamic. But the interesting part that you take each and every symptom or the sign has a deep connection with the skin. And I give you a reason for it. So far there are 22,000 plus proteins are identified in the body. means which we know their structure, we know their character, we know what exactly they do in the expression level and the physiological level. Out of that, 14,000 proteins are expressed in the skin out of 22,000. So you can imagine skin is nothing but the protein factory. Now, the effort is going on that with this so many protein expression happening in the skin, we are trying to use that protein expression to identify or pre-identify certain systemic diseases. It's great. Reason that now certain genes get expressed or the protein gets expressed in the skin way early, I mean at least 7 or 8 years before one might get the breast cancer. That particular protein is expressed in the skin. Same like Alzheimer's disease. There are a lot of such diseases. For that, the biomarkers would be available in the skin. And the technology is going so fast that I'm just waiting for that day that when the quantum computing will get domesticated. Because the phenomenal power of the quantum computing that can give the data attribution is amazing. It is going to change our entire aesthetic world as well. Beautiful thing to have. Now, when we are doing a little change throughout any treatment or through any product in the skin, it is actually going at the protein expression level, the proteins are getting changed, and it will have, on the contrary, any systemic effect. So this is not a one-way traffic, it is a two-way traffic. Please bear that well. Now, in connection with the menopausal skin condition, epidermal and dermal. Now, these are the two broad categories, but I still don't believe in these two categories. There's another category is hypodermal. Okay? So, if I ask you by the sheer sense of anatomy, that we all know that skin has two layers, epidermis and dermis, but is that so? According to me, no. It starts far up to the deep fascia. Even the muscle is a part of the skin, superficial fascia, subcutaneous fat, hypodermis, basement membrane, epidermis. Now the fun starts from the epidermis and up. There are three more layers, there are three more segments. Acid mantle, then microdermis, microbiome, and the last one on the top is the quantadermis. Okay, it is made up of all the quantum. Now, in menopausal, all these layers are getting affected in some or the other way, and you will see that even if the structure and the function is okay, not that so much compromise, but the glow, that glow comes and, oh, what happened to my glow? There's no glow on the skin. What to do with it? That's the quantadermis, and that is made up of, to be very technical now, the spin magnetic moment of the nucleus of every microbiota species residing on the skin gives rise to quantadermis. Anyway, doesn't matter. Seborrheic keratosis is just one example, but keratinocytes. So one beautiful thing about two tissues in the skin, keratinocytes and melanocytes. These are two tissues which are coherently connected with the brain constantly, because when you see their genetic architecture or when you do the sequencing, genetic sequencing of these two tissues, you will find that they exactly have neuron-like structure. Means eczema, hyperpigmentation, anything related with the pigmentation has to do with the brain. And there's like 4 years back, I was reading one research article from the British Medical Journal, and they were trying to see all the implication of the Alzheimer's disease and the Parkinson's disease, specifically the Parkinson's. I'm writing a book on the neurocognitive disorders right now, so I have to go through all this information. So everyone knows there are two pigments in the skin, black or brown, or the red pigment, means pheomelanin and the eumelanin. But there is another pigment called neuromelanin, which is present in the brain, in the midbrain. And this neuromelanin is deeply connected with the pheomelanin and the eumelanin, and they are influencing each other. For example, there is an amino acid called cysteine, L-cysteine. L-cysteine is very important in terms of the melanogenetic pathway in the skin. So when the neuromelanin, this is pretty interesting, sequester or take up all the cysteine level from the blood, there is hardly any cysteine availability for the skin to manufacture red pigment. That's why you will see that I was talking about the early indicators of some of the disease. If one has lost the red undertone of the skin like this immediately, I mean they were having that tone last month, but this month client visits and says, oh, what's wrong? Well, where is that red undertone gone? That's the early sign of having the Parkinson's disease, because it compensates. The neuromelanin sequesters cysteine and the red pigment goes off, and that will eventually again influence the neuromelanin. So don't take yours and your client's skin so lightly. Don't take anything for granted in the skin. No matter how long, how deep, you know your client and their skin. Actually, you don't know nothing. So every time you encounter with your client, every time you do something with your client's skin, don't take anything for granted. Always give a fresh start. Reason being, so far, the skin structure changes 18,600 times every millisecond. That means there is nothing static in the skin, it's all dynamic. So in that dynamic world, if you consider, okay, this will happen in this way, no my dear, you are already missed the point. You're already on the wrong footing. Okay? Now, the epidermal, if you see the epidermal sign and symptoms and the dermal, this accelerated biological aging and loss of fascia adhesion, this is important because this is where the crepes start coming, sagging of the skin. Due to fascia adhesion, it has very less to do with collagen and elastin loss. So if you try to treat your client's skin for the crepes and the deep wrinkles with the collagen and the elastin, no. Got to do with the fascia, how you can strengthen their fascia, how can you strengthen the bone covering. Now, glycation, almost like 4th or the 5th person on this planet in today's day, due to the lifestyle we encounter, is having the compromised metabolic syndrome. May not be having the blood sugar fluctuation, this thing, but their metabolism is already compromised. And that glycation, have you heard the term called lipofuscin? Anyone? No. Lipofuscin means, lipo means lipid, fat, fusin means getting fused with. So this extra blood sugar, I'm not saying diabetic, but the impaired glucose tolerance, that extra glucose, get combined with the lipid in the skin, and it enters in the mitochondria, which is the energy factory of the cell, of the skin. and it covers the entire mitochondria, and then there is no energy release in the skin, and then the glycation happens. And the early sign and symptoms of the glycation is the freckles and the deep leather-like skin, very deep wrinkled, uneven pigmented, very weird looking. Okay, and that is very common in the menopausal period. Estrogen deficiency, we will see in a while. Reactive skin. This is again the very intimate connection of the skin, gut, and the brain. That's why the reaction happens all the time. Essential fatty acid, this is very important. Linoleic acid, linolenic acid, gamma linoleic acid. These are very, very important in this period to have orally or through external. That's why, because these are essential acids, body doesn't produce it. Reason is the fascia adhesion or the basement membrane dislocation can be countered only with the essential fatty acid. There is no other way, and it has to come from internal. Okay. Mind over matter. Effect on the skin is complex. Really, I mean, it's now there are certain direct matter are influencing the menopause. There are indirect, and then their interaction through the positive and the negative feedback constitute the entire menopausal thing. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, FSH, oxytocin, vitamin D, leptin. Everyone knows much about this, right? About the leptin. Have you heard leptin? Great. So leptin is something we can really turn around in this menopausal disease. So usually the body tendency in this period is to accumulate more fat. Okay. But if you employ certain good treatments, you can convert this fat into an asset. You can make them secrete more leptin, and then that leptin can improve the glow or improve the skin health as well as reduction in the fat. So in both ways. So it's a trick you can play with the leptin. Now, leptin also works with a lot of these hormonal receptors on the skin. TSH, thyroid, very, very important, because though it is not directly connected with the menopause, but it can add a lot of nuisance. You know, thyroid levels are really, really important. Insulin, like growth factor, we'll see in this slide. So if you understand this, you got the menopause. You can treat well. Very, very. So these are all the different tissues in the skin: keratinocyte, papilla cell, nerve, endothelial cells, sweat gland. But you see all these receptors which are present on every cell wall. And these are most of all the hormones I talked about. All this. Right? That means at every second, all these hormonal fluctuations are affecting the skin tissues. The most important, and that caught my attention, is urocortin. Why? So urocortin is a neuropeptide. So it's a kind of a pattern. Nature always repeats the pattern. If a female goes through the hard time, when first time she got the moon cycle, it's called menarche, okay? The same pattern will get followed at the time of the menopause, okay? And reason is urocortin, because this urocortin is a memory molecule. It registers the memory in the skin, and that memory goes lifelong unless you reverse it. And can we reverse it? Yes, we can reverse it. Are there tangible tools? Yes, there are tangible tools. So this is called the epigenetic alteration. And now you see urocortin is here, endothelial cells, sweat gland cells, melanocytes. So almost like 4 of the tissues urocortin has, means that memory will affect these 4 tissues constantly. Unless consciously you can enter it. Okay, so this is a very important slide as such. Much can be talked about it, but I'm running short of time. Skin's alter ego. What is this alter ego? So far the understanding was the skin is a recipient of most of the systemic hormones. However, skin itself is an endocrine hormone gland. Skin acts like an endocrinal organ. Why? Due to insulin growth factor 1, this is produced in the skin to utilize all the systemic sugar, blood sugar. 5-alpha reductase, I love this. This 5-alpha reductase is an enzyme required to break down testosterone into dehydroepiandrosterone in the skin. So if your client is on the HRT, having a little testosterone in it, be sure that their alpha reductase level has to get measured. Okay, vitamin D, oh my God. So this is the wrong term again. So vitamin D is not a vitamin, it is a hormone. But as it acts like a vitamin, that's why we call it vitamin D, but it is basically a hormone. Trans-retinoic acid. Retinol, we have 2 clear-cut demography. One loves retinol, one hates retinol. Right? But we can't have. Skin produces its own retinol. I repeat, skin produces its retinol, and it is manufactured in the inner cell wall of the keratinocytes. And that form is trans-retinoic acid, direct, because retinols are great when it works on the nuclear receptors in terms of the cell proliferation and the growth. So retinols are required. Cholesterol, intracrine estrogen, this is important, and prolactin. Species sensualize, that's the term for the menopause. Okay, and that will kill all the suffering. Understood? Body treatments, pheromone. Oh, love this. How many of you know the pheromones? Right? Great. Bioidentical HRT. I'm a big proponent of bioidentical HRT. It definitely helps. 630 nanometer, what the hell is this? Red light. 630 nanometer red light therapy given with a proper tool, with the control time and the control frequency, can diminish the fascia lax. It can really strengthen up the fascia. Neurokinin 3, this is again a neuropeptide which is a happy chemical. And adult epidermal stem cell, as the biological age accelerates.
Is that like the infrared sauna? Is that what that red light therapy is?
No, it's a red light. So unless and until it is 630 nanometer to 640 nanometer range, you are okay.
Okay.
So I don't go with the names like infrared, this and that. I am precise what's the wavelength.
Okay.
Right? Now, the biological aging is directly proportional to the number of the epidermal adult stem cells which are present in the skin. Simple as that. Epidermal adult stem cell has nothing to do with the chronological age. I repeat, it has nothing to do with the chronological age. It's all about the biological age. So if you employ certain treatment, wonderful menopausal suffering can be reduced. Thank you. Any question?